It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change your attitude, change your life. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. You're listening to us in your neighborhood from coast to coast and around the world. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joan Herman, author, speaker, and your host. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life brings you interviews with some of the most inspirational and influential people in the world. It's our goal to educate and empower you so you can live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. We have another great show for you today. According to today's guest, Valorie Burton, despite having better jobs, better education, more money, and more choices than ever before, today's women are actually less happy than women 40 years ago. Valorie is a personal and executive coach who has written 9 books on personal development, including her latest, Happy Women Live Better. She's the founder of the Coaching and Positive Psychology Institute and is a columnist for Ebony Magazine. She's a frequent media contributor who has appeared in and on The Today Show, CNN, Fox News, Dr. Oz, Oprah, and the Los Angeles Times. Valorie has co-hosted 2 national television programs, The Potter's Touch with T.D. Jakes and Aspiring Women, winning 2 regional Emmy nominations. Welcome, Valorie. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Valorie, as women, we search for happiness in relationships, jobs, material items. We have more today than women before us, than ever before, and yet you say we're less happy, and that by age 40, many women feel their life hasn't turned out as they'd hoped. Why do you believe this is happening?
Well, actually, that whole statement is based on a really interesting study that came out just a few years ago from the Wharton School. It's called basically the paradox of declining female happiness, that when you look at women from the early 70s and you look at women 40 years later, that women's happiness, especially starting in early 40s, has begun to decline, and men are continuing to see their happiness increase. And so I began just talking to women. What do you think that is? You would think that with more opportunities, more education, more income, more technology that's made household work more a little easier to do, that we would be happier. And so what is it that's going on? And so that was a big part of what prompted Happy Women Live Better. And then I thought to myself, well, what can we do about it? And so the book is really about these 13 research-based happiness triggers, things that you can do every single day. You don't have to do all 13, but, finding what can you do to boost your happiness in a really practical and intentional way.
You were talking about a study, and studies show that women who are financially dependent on their husbands are more loyal, but men who are financially dependent on their wives are actually more likely to cheat. Do you think that has something to do with this male need to feel masculine?
I think that that men are wired to provide. I do believe that, and that when they are more dependent on women, I think that there's a shift in the dynamic that's very unfortunate. I mean, it's unfortunate when you look at that, and even the fact that when women's income exceeds 60% of household income, divorce is far more likely. I mean, there are issues going on with the changing dynamics in our culture that obviously as women with more education we're making more money, and it doesn't impact every relationship, but many relationships have some dynamics that become negative as a result. And so I think it's something just for us to be aware of, and that for a woman looking for relationships, she has to have a man who's very secure and very supportive. If she has a high income, I think that's an unfortunate reality.
Learning about this, it makes me wonder. When we look at our parents' generations, those marriages lasted maybe because the roles were a little more clear-cut. In my age group, the divorce rate is skyrocketing, and I'm wondering if it's because men and women don't really know what the roles are anymore. And maybe it goes back to what you just said. And hopefully, I have a 21-year-old son and an 18-year-old. So hopefully they're growing up with women in a different role, and maybe the relationships will be redefined so that those marriages will tend to last. Some
of these are consequences we didn't expect from from so much positive progress, and how that affects a lot of relationships. And some of these things seem politically incorrect to say, but if you're living it, it's real.
Yeah.
And many of us have lived it and are thinking, okay, what is it that I can do? I do think that with the younger generation, it's normal for them. And if you look at young people who are under 30, who are professionals, young women are on average, out earning their male counterparts. So this is a real reality. We have a lot of shifts. Many of the jobs that 40 years ago gave men opportunities, even if perhaps they didn't go to college, you could still raise a family. Many of those jobs are gone, and many of the jobs that are paying and are very stable, for example, in the healthcare industry, are dominated more by women. And so, there are a lot of shifts and changes. We don't necessarily think about how does this impact marriage, so to speak, but it does.
Looking at other statistics, it's almost like women have had this trade-off. If they've gone up the corporate ladder, then they're less likely to marry or have children. Yeah. And now they're experiencing greater anxiety than ever before. So, let's talk about something happy. Let's talk about what we can do to trigger happiness. You talk about 13 happiness triggers in your book. Yes. Let's go through a few of these and see if we can bring someone some joy.
Yes, let's bring some joy. And one thing I want the women to do, and men too, actually this test is relevant for everybody, but if you go to happywomantest.com, you can take this free quiz, and it will tell you what your personal triggers are, which are the happiness triggers that you are probably using pretty frequently, and it will tell you your power triggers. That's my positive term for the ones at the bottom. These are the ones that you don't use so much, but if you figure out what they are and you start to use them, they have the greatest ability to boost your happiness because you're not really activating those happiness triggers very often.
All right, so what are some of these triggers?
Well, one of my favorite, actually my absolute favorite happiness trigger is called anticipation. And think of it like this. Have the mantra that every day I make sure I have something to look forward to. Anticipation builds up kind of this hope for what's going to happen in the future, and it can be simple things like tonight you're going to have dinner with a friend or your spouse, or it could be the bubble bath you're going to take, or the good book you're going to curl up with, or maybe at the end of the week it's an event that you're going to that you're really looking forward to. And of course, there are the bigger things like vacations that you plan. So we actually can create as much positive emotion, for example, planning a vacation and kind of anticipating that vacation as we do from the vacation itself. So be very intentional about having something every day that you're looking forward to. And the small things matter on an everyday basis, and then on a weekly or monthly or seasonal basis, there are those bigger things that you create. And you have to be intentional about it. If you find yourself being bored or there's never anything going on with me, create something. That's within your control. So, another one of my favorites is play. So the mantra that I ask you to have is I give myself permission to play, be silly, and have fun. And, when you are stressed out, play is actually a really great tool to use because it's impossible to play and multitask at the same time, right? So play really requires your full attention. And a real key to play is this is not about performance. This is purely about doing something you enjoy. So if you're the worst artist in the world, but you like to paint, give yourself permission to do it just because you like it, okay? It's giving yourself that opportunity to do things purely for the joy of it. And studies actually show that men are more natural at play than women are. If you think about boys, they wrestle, grown men play basketball, they play golf, they play video games. That's how men bond. They tend to bond side by side in play. As women, we tend to bond face to face, right? Talking and connection. But there's something we definitely can learn from men with play because if you're having trouble relaxing, and by the way, relaxation is a happiness trigger, and on the happywomantest.com website, it is the bottom trigger. We've had like 15,000 women take this test, and that's the one that most often falls at the bottom. Play helps you to relax. It allows your mind to quit thinking about all the stuff that you're stressed about and to just focus on pure joy.
And the problem with that, Valorie, is as women, when we play, we feel guilty because we feel that our entire day should be about serving others.
That's right. We actually, it's fascinating to me that we've done a couple surveys with men and women around free time. And when women get extra free time, it does not necessarily decrease their stress level. They feel like they just need to add more, there's more stuff left on the to-do list. They don't actually relax because they've got free time, because the mind continues to just keep moving. Whereas men will go, okay, great, I'm gonna go play golf today. So we have to work on that, and it's a choice. I mean, it's not that it's easy, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes, because then you begin to feel the result of laughing, of having a good time. And what that does for you is to actually make you more productive when you get back to the real work you've got to do.
Valorie, what are some of the myths that you find women have about happiness?
Oh, I think the biggest myth that we have is that we know what will make us happy. And this is for everyone, really. And we are actually very poor predictors of what will make us happy. And it puts us on something called, that psychologists call the hedonic treadmill, which is simply the idea that, we think we know what's going to make us happy. Maybe it's the new house, the new job, the new car. And once we attain that, we're excited for a minute. We get some pleasure from it. And then after a while, we get used to it. And so we have this kind of continually increasing set of requirements of what it takes to be happy. We get used to it. Now we need something more. And so we've got to get clear about what really brings us joy, which has to do with things like connection, finding a sense of purpose, serving others, playing, being intentional, like I said, about anticipation. All of those things will help you to find greater levels of contentment. And probably the best thing you can do to create contentment is to be intentional about gratitude. Right? When you get used to things, you begin taking them for granted. Even the things, if you look back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I bet there are things in your life right now that you wished back then that you had. And many of those things you don't even give a second thought to anymore. So being able to stop and notice the progress that you've made and how far you've come can actually help you to stop kind of running on that hedonic treadmill of always needing more and more and more. To be happy.
We have middle-aged women that are living as singles again, either due to death or divorce. What advice would you offer these women to move past the pain and find their joy again?
Well, I think anytime you've gone through a loss, there has to be a period of mourning and processing that loss. I've been through divorce. It is awful. Very painful. I don't think you can just move on. I think what you have to do first is give yourself a chance to process, to grieve, and to find your part in it, and to forgive yourself of anything you feel you need to forgive yourself for, even if it's, I never should have gotten married in the first place. I mean, or, the spouse has passed away and there are regrets that you have. To be able to forgive yourself for those things is so critical. But using these happiness triggers is so powerful. So, pick out 2 or 3 things that you can do. One of the best things you can do, especially when you're in a rut of maybe feeling sorry for yourself, feeling really down, is service. That's one of those happiness triggers I'm talking about. Every day I do something to brighten someone else's day. That's what you want to be able to say. When you take the focus off of yourself and off of your problems and notice ways in which you can help others, helping them to solve their problems, helping to brighten their day, doing something for them, it lifts your happiness and it puts things into perspective. And often that's what we need when we're going through something very difficult.
The book is Happy Women Live Better by Valorie Burton. If you'd like more information about Valorie, you can visit her website, valerieburton.com. Valorie, thank you so much for being here with us today. This is such important information. As you and I were saying in the beginning, women today, they're just having so much trouble trying to figure out where we fit in. And I think in doing that, somewhere along the way, we've lost ourselves and we've lost our ability to find our joy. Yeah. So this is a really important message. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. Great questions. You're a great interviewer.
Thank you. We'll be right back. It's time for Medical Minutes. Joining me today is Dr. Michael Gross, the Medical Director of the Active Center for Health and Wellness, the founder of Active Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, and the Orthopedic Director of Sports Medicine at Hackensack University Medical Center in Hackensack, New Jersey. Dr. Gross is the author of the new book, Get Well Soon. Welcome, Dr. Gross. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Joan.
Doctor, in your new book, Get Well Soon, you discussed the importance of dietary supplements. What are considered to be dietary supplements?
Dietary supplements are anything non-medicinal that people ingest, that they take by mouth, that they don't get by eating a balanced diet or they don't get from their regular diet. In theory, if you eat a balanced diet, you don't need to take supplements. But in most of our diets, there are deficiencies, and this is made up by taking supplements. Supplements can be vitamins. Supplements can be things like omega-3 fish oil. So anything that we need to maintain our health that we may not be getting in our regular diet.
What are some of the benefits of taking dietary supplements?
Well, again, the supplements can maintain health, can maintain wellness. Omega-3 fish oil is an anti-inflammatory. Inflammation in your system can cause heart disease, can cause problems with vision, may even be one of the causes of Alzheimer's disease. So taking anything that can reduce bodily inflammation will help to maintain your health. Vitamin D is a popular vitamin that may reduce the risk of cancer. It maintains bone health and bone strength. It maintains muscle strength. And many people may not get enough vitamin D in their regular diet. So taking a supplement may be useful. Most people, if they eat a balanced diet, are getting enough vitamins, but they may not be getting enough to function at their optimum level. Some of the minimum dietary levels that are recommended are the levels of a particular vitamin that are needed to prevent certain specific diseases, but they may not be the level of that vitamin needed for you to perform optimally. So sometimes, even if you are eating a balanced diet, it may be helpful to take vitamin supplements.
Doctor, are they regulated? How do we know if supplements are safe?
Well, the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, does not regulate the safety of supplements. They are not considered medicines. So it is the responsibility of the manufacturer to provide a safe product. The USP monitors the safety of supplements and will grant a USP seal to those products that meet a very high standard, sort of like the Good Housekeeping seal of vitamins, and it's the USP seal.
Dr. Gross, in your opinion, what supplements should people be taking on a regular basis?
I think for the average person, a good multivitamin is important, but it has to be a quality multivitamin. A lot of the commercially available vitamin products are prepared in such a way that your body doesn't even absorb them. And so you'll take the multiple vitamin every day, and your body will excrete it, and at the end of the day, you may exhibit the same blood levels as someone who hasn't even taken a vitamin. So it's important to take a quality vitamin, and those are usually things that may not be the most popular commercial brands. I think high levels of vitamin D without going to a toxic level are very important. I think omega-3 fish oil is an important supplement to take.
Dr. Gross, thank you so much for spending time with us today. If our listeners would like to get more information, you can visit his websites, theactivecenter.com or activeorthopedics.com. And if you'd like to learn more about achieving true wellness in your life, get a copy of Dr. Gross's book, Get Well Soon, which is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Thank you again, Doctor.
Thank you always, Joan.
We'll be right back. We all want to live a happy, productive life, but sometimes we just need a little help. Our Coach on Call experts provide strategies to help you cultivate effective life skills. Joining me today is Karen O'Sullivan, a holistic health coach and founder of Appetites for Life. Karen supports women who want a positive connection with food and with themselves, and she encourages them to adopt a mindful eating approach to food. Welcome, Karen. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Karen, after what seems like never-ending winter, a long winter, spring has finally arrived, and a new season is here. Why do you believe that it is important for us to reset our body in a new season?
That is a great question. As anyone can see, the transition from winter to spring brings many changes outdoors. But there are also changes going on inside your body. For instance, spring is the season for renewal and for cleansing. And at this time of the year, our bodies naturally begin to metabolize fat as fuel. So all that heavy, warming food you were eating over the winter starts to get broken down in the spring. And it's a perfect time to detox or cleanse or even strive to eat healthier. Nature has kind of built in a reset button that automatically gets turned on in the spring, and it's your job to help your body in that process.
So what are some strategies that we can employ to get the body ready for warmer weather?
I love that question because if you see the sun come out and the trees are blossoming and the flowers are blooming, it's a perfect time to start implementing some spring strategies. One of my favorite methods to get the body ready to cleanse is to drink warm water with fresh lemon every morning to help move your lymphatic system and stimulate your bowels. And the spring is all about the cleansing. And our liver, our lymphatic systems, our digestive system, they've been working really hard over the winter to keep you healthy. The warm water is soothing, and the lemon helps to turn on that cleansing process. Another great strategy is to cut back on sugar, dairy, and caffeine to allow your natural energy to flow and prepare your body for cleansing. Sugar and dairy clog your body, and they create mucus in your body. So by eliminating them from your diet, you are aiding your body to cleanse more efficiently. And the last strategy I can share is to get outside and walk. Not only is exercise beneficial, but getting back in touch with nature will enhance your mood. We've been cooped up all winter, so now that the snow is melted, it's time to get moving.
Karen, what food should we be adding in, and what should we be cutting back on?
Well, as you see in nature, green is the color of spring. So things are blossoming and shoot up from the ground, and the earth is filled with sprouts and leaves. We're coming out of a season of very heavy, fatty foods from winter and want to transition into lighter foods like leafy greens, such as kale and Swiss chard and spinach, shoots like green onions and chives, and other spring foods like radishes. Later in the season, berries are a really good option to help cleanse the body and flush out fat. So at this time, we really should be cutting back on heavy foods like dairy products, meats, and nuts, and start incorporating more lighter, greener, fresher foods into our diet.
Karen, what are some things that we should be doing around the home to lift our mood and our spirits?
Around the home, it's a good idea to fill up vases with fresh flowers. We've been in hibernation much too long this winter, so start to bring the outside in. Another thing I love to do is diffuse uplifting essential oils throughout the house. So scents like lavender or lemon are purifying and relaxing. And finally, when the warm air does come in, open your windows and let the breeze just cleanse your house and circulate throughout your house. It's really an uplifting thing to do.
Karen, thank you so much for being here with us today. As I said, it's been a very long winter, and now the longer days and the warmer weather, it really does make us begin to come back to life. So you've given us some wonderful strategies today. If our listeners would like to get more information, you can visit Karen's website, appetitesforlife.com. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided are the opinions of our guests and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, take part in the book club, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.